Last week, the leaders of Britain, France, Poland and Germany went to Ukraine, sent Russian President Vladimir Putin an ultimatum. Last chance. Agree to a 30-day ceasefire right now or face even tougher sanctions. But Trump immediately undercut them again. He actually agreed to Putin's latest stalling, a demand, no, I want face-to-face talks today, Thursday, in Turkey before any ceasefire. Well, Ukraine's president then snookered Putin by saying, all right, I'll be in Turkey today, but Putin, you've got to come too, face to face. But Putin, guess what, hasn't shown, and the war goes on. Joining me is General Jack Keane. General Keane was Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Army and a 4-star general, and is now chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. General Keane, pleasure to see you, because we are talking about historic events. I'll be really interested in your analysis here. We've got Donald Trump in Yemen and in Syria and in Qatar making peace with Islamist terrorists and their sponsors. He's made arms deals with the Saudis and Qatar that will make them much stronger in the region, and has done all of this without Israel's consent, its will, and without even visiting Israel as well on this trip. All this is such a massive change. What do you make of it?
Well, I think when I draw back and look at it, I think what it really is the return of strong American leadership in the region, and clearly attempting to strengthen the ties that we already have in that region with our Arab partners. And obviously, the ties with Israel are very strong. I think it actually also is done in such a demonstrative way to replace the failed Biden policies in the region for the last 4 years. And by that, I mean they appeased the Iranians in the nuclear deal. They refused to get involved in doing anything to curb their behavior in the region. They let the Houthis continue to disrupt the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. And here comes Trump. From the very beginning of his presidency, he removed all restrictions on weapons to Israel, backed their operational plans completely, did not get involved in micromanaging how they did their business. And right now, on the cusp of leaving the Middle East region, Israel has been holding back and conducting a very comprehensive ground campaign in Gaza to finish off Hamas once and for all, and the Trump administration is supporting that. I don't think it's that big a deal that Israel is not on the list of the 3 countries they're visiting, because the support for Israel is very strong. And what Trump has done here too, he's confronted Iran, and he's flat told them, you're going to stop terrorism. You're going to stop your proxy wars. You're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That is going to be dismantled. And virtually all of those leaders yesterday, when he laid that case out, were very much in support of that. And we already know that he shut the Houthis down. So I think the message is loud and clear. The purpose, as stated, is for economic and financial benefit to the United States, to get these countries to invest in America, somewhere in staggering sum between $3 and $5 trillion. That's the major purpose of it, but certainly the strategic purpose of it cannot be denied.
There is a gamble here, though, isn't it? And this is what's making Israel a bit nervous. That is, by welcoming the new leader of Syria as a friend, praising him, lifting all the sanctions on Syria, all that kind of stuff, Syria will become more powerful. Israel doesn't want it to become powerful. Qatar is a sponsor of Hamas. It's now tied in very closely with America. And Saudi Arabia is going to be the force in the Middle East, particularly with these weapons deals. That's not necessarily a big concern for Israel, but it will lose its primacy. I'm just wondering, what do you sense is the risk here? Is it an upside for peace, or is there still a danger this could go wrong?
Yeah, I think there's some issues there. Certainly, you pointed out one dealing with Syria and al-Sharaa, who's the new president of Syria. He's known terrorist in the past, Al-Qaeda affiliated, ISIS affiliated. He claims to have changed his stripes. I do believe that the sanctions probably don't make a lot of sense because they were put on Syria when Assad's father was in the regime, and certainly when he carried on with his barbaric reign as well. And maybe a better way to have handled it was to wait until this president changes his behavior and you can actually have something to show for it that's tangible in terms of a moderate regime and not a radical regime. Israel has every right to have security concerns here. They're right on their border, and they certainly don't need another enemy to deal with. And that's why they've established a buffer zone between the Golan Heights and the regime itself. So we'll see what goes. But in terms of U.S. support for Israel, despite them not visiting them, I think it's very solid.
Now, General Keane, meanwhile, I think the Middle East initiative is very exciting and on the whole positive, with big risks though. The Trump administration's approach to Ukraine and Russia, I think, is very problematic though. You've got Vladimir Putin refusing now to fly to Turkey today to talk peace with Ukraine's president, who dared him to come. He's instead sent a very low-level delegation headed by one of his aides, a toady who thinks that Russians are superior because they have an extra chromosome. Where is all this going?
Well, I think this was thrown up there by Putin. When he saw the four leaders, United Kingdom, France and Germany and Poland in Kyiv, supporting the regime so solidly in terms of Ukraine's leadership, that got his attention. With ours, he was offering to do something he's never done before, and that is have direct talks with the Ukrainians themselves. I believe it was just a stall, and I think Zelensky and Trump did the right thing here in calling this bluff on it. And Zelensky says, I'll be waiting for Mr. Putin, Vladimir Putin, in Turkey to talk face-to-face with him. And obviously he's not coming. He's sending a deputy minister, which shows you how unserious they are. Just another step in the direction of putting off a peace agreement. And I think we're getting closer to the United States and the Europeans slapping some pretty crippling sanctions on the Russians. At the same time, continuing to aid Ukrainian with military equipment.
Well, if Trump does that, some of my deep concerns about that policy, which initially was blaming Ukraine for everything, will be eased. Look, it's a fascinating time, General. History being made in front of our eyes at warp speed. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. It's always great talking to you and your audience.